Okay, so I'm going to bow in. Great to see you. That's the first thing to say. So we're always going to start with a centering exercise in this class. And I want to remind you of the definition of what centering is as far as I'm concerned. It's the definition I provided last week. It's to create a state where you are focused, relaxed, and grounded. And in so doing, take power away from outside concerns and negative thoughts, allowing you to fully appreciate the circumstances you are in and make appropriate decisions as to what action will serve you best in any situation. So we can't solve all the world's problems, but all we can do is we can bring our best resource to any particular situation. And in Aikido, we focus a lot on working from our center. We do a little bit on centering exercises, but it's perhaps the most applicable thing that we can take away from any Aikido class and improve anything we're doing. So if I ask you, well, when are you at your most efficient? We could probably agree it's when you're relaxed and focused and happy with doing what you're doing. So if you can get into that state where you're relaxed and focused and clearly see what's going on in front of you, you'll achieve more of anything that you choose to do. Yeah, so that's why we're going to always have that as a focus. You're always welcome to give me your feedback. You're always welcome to ask questions. You're always welcome to give suggestions for movements that you would like to look at. And indeed to offer a centering if you would like to do that at some stage. I'd welcome that myself. So we'll start with a centering. And so you can sit or you can stand just as you like, and just make sure that you're comfortable. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Great, okay. So I'm going to ask you just to shut your eyes and make sure that you feel comfortable in your sitting position or your standing position. And then I'm going to ask you to just focus on your breath. And as you pay attention to your breath, you probably find that your shoulders begin to relax. And if you notice your face, the facial muscles begin to relax. As you breathe deeply, and you notice the rhythm, probably find that your breathing slows down and that you do breathe more deeply. I want you to notice the calmness that results from that. Feeling maybe of contentment, tranquility, a clear mind, nothing to think about other than to follow your breath. Notice what's going on underneath your feet. Maybe what's going on with your knees. Now your hips and shoulders. Where are your hands hanging? What's happening in your neck? Did you then release any tension there? And then your face. Think about your forehead. Just move that out a little bit. Muscles around your eyes. Your jaw. Everything should just be settling in. So your mind is open and ready to receive information as it comes your way. And hopefully, you're now ready to make the most of this class. Any feedback that you want to offer on that? You don't have to. We can move on.
Very instant relaxation, Quentin.
Good. That's what I was going for, Dimitra. So we'll always do a centering because I'm trying to give you touchstones that you might be able to find in your daily life when you're feeling a bit stressed to get back to center so that you can get on with dealing with whatever life is throwing your way effectively. And I'll try to vary them a lot because you'll have to choose the ones that work for you. I also want to just make it a little bit novel and interesting as we go along. So I thought we might look at some of the movement we do within shihonage. Now, bear in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to explore the movement, but the purpose is really to give you tools to explore any movement you like. So this is just one example of the way you might go through any movement if you wanted to sort of examine it from all sorts of angles. Yeah, because remember, as I said last week, you're the teacher, not me. I'm just shining a light so that you can guide yourself, really. Okay? Okay. So, we're going to imagine that we're doing this from cross wrist. Someone's grabbing you from cross wrist and you want to do shihonage. Okay. So, what's the first movement you're going to make? Would someone like to offer an opinion?
Move off the line.
Move off the line. Yeah, possibly. Or you might move them off the line, John. Anything else? Okay, I don't mind doing the hard work. Okay, so the first thing that people see happen is they see the arm move. But actually, it's not the arm moving, it's the hip moving. Yep, so you can see that we did this handshake last week. This is where my hand is placed. I'm extending, feeling out to meet the attack. And I'm moving from my center by turning my hips. And that should result in my knees and my feet moving a little bit too. So you're doing a little bit of twist here. So that everything is now facing the direction that you've brought your arm to. And it's still dead in my center. So I'm not doing this, waving my arm in front. I'm turning my center and my hand remains exactly aligned with my center all along. Notice too that my hand does not flap about trying to grab anything. It stays straight. As I move, it stays straight. Now imagine that this is the arm that's coming to me. It's going to meet something like that. That's all I'm looking to do. I don't want to grab. I don't want to grab. I want to meet. So feel the difference between grabbing yourself. You can be relatively violent to yourself, as violent as you're willing to be. How does that feel, as opposed to kind of docking with it and guiding it away? What you probably notice is when you hit it hard, this one doesn't want to move. But when I blend with it, it naturally goes with it. Is that common experience for you?
Yes.
Good, excellent. So that's our feeling always in Aikido, that we're looking to blend with our partner, not to knock them aside. So as you meet, your wrist turns. It does that. Why? Why do we want to do that? Come on, there's some old heads on here that will know the answer to this. You don't need to make me work hard for it.
We connect.
Yeah.
We connect with his energy. With
Well, you connect here, Dimitra. So now you've got connection.
Right. Okay, right. It is grounding his energy towards the earth, grounding down as we turn.
Okay, so you know, if we want to look at this martially, Would you rather be on top or underneath?
On top.
Yeah, why?
Because you have control over where the energy goes.
You're basically, you've got the best way of using gravity to your advantage, haven't you?
Right.
You're a little bit higher than them, so you've got a bit more gravity to use if you want to think of it in those terms. So we move from the center. I'll just give it offline, so when I finish, I should be more or less in line with you. Yeah. Our wrist turns, and then we drop. Now we want to go across, but again, we don't want to do this with our arm. We want to do this with all of our body. So as and this hand's come to meet it now. We're holding their hand with this hand as well. We're following on this center line the whole time as we turn. And then we spin behind, and we come up on our center line. And we drop down on our center line. So all our Aikido movement wants to be happening in this place. And in fact, nearly everything that you do is better done from this place. So just imagine you're grabbing a pint of beer. Grab it like that and pick it up off the bar. How does that feel? As opposed to grabbing it like that. Big difference?
Yes.
It's a big difference, isn't it? Okay, so just reach a little bit across as opposed to the really extreme. Do you still notice stuff's going on in your shoulder that's a bit uncomfortable? I do. Yeah. So whatever you do, give it your full focus to be at your most effective. It's not that I can't grab like this, but I'm losing a lot of my potential when I do. Yeah. So imagine I was digging the garden. That too will be done in my center. If I'm doing it out there or out there, I've got a very long job when I dig up that garden. Yeah. So think about the daily tasks you do and whether you're working from center. Yeah. There's one way in which you can be more mindful about what you're doing all the time and learn to be more effective in how you do it. Okay, so in your own time, you're turning, you're joining, the wrist turns, you drop, and as it comes towards you, you lift up. This back leg steps behind your imaginary partner, and you draw them down. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see, I'm working on a mat. Where the mats join, I've got a line. I'm going to imagine that's my partner. You can take anywhere in your room and imagine that's where your partner is standing. You want to be standing behind them. Why do you want to be standing behind them as opposed to maybe slightly in front of them? So very often you see people do shihonage from this position. So one of them's facing the front, one of them's facing the back. Why would you not want to do it like that? You're really going to make me tell you everything, aren't you?
He can't punch you.
Yes, simply put, imagine that I'm the one being thrown and the guy who's throwing me is standing here. Can I punch him? Yes, I can. Yes. If they're standing behind me, I can't. Yep. So at the time they're applying the downward movement, and actually the best way to make it work is when they're running onto it. You don't actually have to lower, they're the ones that throw themselves, but you're right behind them. So, again, we're starting here. We're turning. The wrist turns. We drop it. We're meeting our hands together now. We're lifting up on our center line. We step to the back and we draw down.
Vincent, could we always say that?
Sorry, did I have a question?
Yeah, Can we also make an association with real life? Just like in real life, it's not a direct position that we have. We have 300 degrees, 360 degrees.
Yeah.
And also on the mat, even if there is people, sometimes people drop over your line. So other partners could drop over.
So you need a great deal of awareness when you're doing any Aikido technique, because the situation can change just like that, and you might have to adjust. Yeah, so what else can we take from this? We can take looking at the small things, because details make a difference. That makes a difference in daily life too. We can think about being relaxed when we do this. We can think about being centered when we do this. We can imagine the connection with another human being as we do this. What sort of connection do we want to have? What connection do you want when you walk into a shop and you're trying to get a service? Do you want to demand it? Do you like having things demanded of you? So the quality of our connection on the mat should reflect the quality of connection you want with people off the mat.
Communication.
Communication through body or through the mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. So in your own time, you're practicing left and right, turning, twisting, dropping, lifting and turning and stepping to the back and down. So turning, twisting and dropping and lifting and stepping to the back and down. So over this period of COVID, I found it really difficult to imagine there's somebody there and to get a sense of connection. So the connection here is an internal one. It's how do you feel as you're doing these moves? How awkward do you feel? Does it feel relaxed? Does it feel fluid? Yeah, that's what you're working on at the moment, how to use your body and your energy most effectively. Are your hands always in front of you as you do this movement? Or are they straying off your center line? How free are your feet as you do this movement? Are you able to move around easily? How centered are you? How aligned are you, back and hips and legs and feet? What's going on with your breath? As you're drawing them down, you should be doing an out breath. So is there anything controversial in what I've said that you don't feel comfortable with, you haven't been doing shihonage that way, that we can talk about?
Yep.
Go for it, John.
It isn't controversial, but it's a development of it. So rather than just a straight turning, you need the sense of drawing into you.
Yes, that's true. So a key component of shihonage is that you're taking this person that's on the horizontal and you're dropping them down here. Because when you drop them down, what's going to be the reaction you get?
They want to push up.
They're going to want to come up, absolutely. And that creates the space for you to turn around the back. So I always describe people who do shihonage, they often do Caribbean Aikido. I'll show you my Caribbean Aikido. It goes something like this. They bend their back to go under the arm. Have you ever seen that?
Yep.
Does it look a bit
And also
vulnerable?
the okay twist.
Does it look a bit vulnerable to you when you do that? You can try it yourselves. You feel very vulnerable. If anyone were to tug down at that point, you're a goner, right?
You're out of your center like that.
You are absolutely out of your center. So you want to stay in your center, but you want to take your partner out of it. So you drop them down because then they're going to come up. And when they come up, they'll overcompensate and they'll want to go down. And that's the moment where you're guiding them to the mat.
But if they're too high, then they can turn away out. So
You
have
have to
bring...
modify the technique for everyone you practice with. When you're working with somebody who's 2 foot taller than you or 2 foot shorter than you, it's always a little bit of a challenge, Steve. That's true. You know, if I'm working with kids, I literally have to do it from my knees. And I have to modify my technique because I don't move as well from my knees as I do from my feet. I don't think anybody of us do, really. If I'm working with someone very tall, I've got to make sure I really do stretch them out. Yeah, because I'm lower than them. So when I lower my hand to my leg, that drops them down a really long way. So I'm still going to get that upwards movement that I want. Okay. The other thing to notice.
What about sitting position?
Sorry, can you say that again?
What about if you are sitting?
If you're sitting, obviously you've got limited movement, Vitaly, but
Yeah.
if you can move your upper body, you can get a lot of the sensation of this.
Yeah, but we usually, when we do shihonage in sitting position, we usually take the partner around ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to have to let them come around the back and come to the front. So there's a degree of compliance from your partner to help you practice the bits of the movement that you can actually do. But yes, you've got to modify to accommodate what you can and can't do. You can still get the benefits of dropping down your center line. You can still get the benefits of feeling the connection. There are lots of things from the exercise that you can still get. You maybe lose a bit of the martial component, but for me, that's one of the last things I'm actually interested in. I want it to have martial integrity, but it's not really, I don't use martial integrity in my daily life. I don't have people attacking me in that way. So I'm far more interested in the other things that Aikido can give me. Okay, so when you got to the top of the movement, where are your hands? How high did they go?
Front of my eye.
Okay, try it again and find out.
Wow.
Okay, so what did you discover?
Kind of, I have to get lower just to pass under the arms. So my hand won't just go like here. I need to adapt my body to my partner's height and the position of our hand.
Everybody put one hand above their head, like that. And use the other one to see if you can push it back and try and stop. So if it's way above your head and the other one pushes back, it's incredibly hard to stop that hand being pushed backwards. Am I making that up or is that true?
That's true.
That's true.
Yep.
Okay, so now put it in front of your forehead, drop your elbow and push now. Really strong? Is that just me or is it for everyone?
Yeah.
Really strong. Okay, so Joanna, you never want to have your hands above your head. You've got an opening there. So you don't want to be doing that going underneath the arm. I'm looking for a ball, if only I could see one. Okay. So I have a ball, and I'm going to drop it. What happened when it dropped? You have to say what you see. It's one of those games.
It
It
kicks.
bounces back up.
It comes back up, right? That's kind of how nature works, right? So if I take you out of your center and I drop you down, you know that's a point of weakness. So you look to come up as quickly as you possibly can. Right. So if I'm way down low and you're trying to get underneath my arm, that's a problem, isn't it? That's a real hard limbo exercise to do. But if all you've got to do is pirouette by my side, it doesn't matter what height they are, that's possible. So you need to be turning as they're coming back up, not attempting to go underneath their arm. You bounce them down, and as they bounce up, you turn. Does that make sense?
Yes, a lot.
Okay, so bear in mind, again, grab one wrist with the other one. You bend above it, right? Push down and try to stop it. I can stop it pretty easily. How about you? Everybody have the same experience?
Yep.
Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to drop your arm as if you're doing a starting exercise, and then when you're ready, just put it into the other hand. Goes down really easy, doesn't it? Yes? So don't think about dropping it, just think about turning your hand and meeting contact with your wrist. Too hard, Joanna, softer. Okay, good. Okay. What are arms connected to?
Shoulders.
And what are shoulders connected to?
The trunk.
Yes, right. So when you drop the arm, the trunk will go down as well, won't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you just attack the arm, then you're not doing it. You're blending with their whole body. You have to have that sense of connection with the other person. So maybe you can just take this feeling of lightness, and what do you have to do to persuade your other arm to just come to your side? And notice how gentle, and the more gentle you are, but the more positive you are, the easier the movement becomes. Okay, so that's what I notice, but what I notice and what you notice could be very different things. I could have just fed myself a story, so I need to know whether that's your experience too.
Just like this, I want to go with.
Yes.
Going with.
Okay, and isn't that the same when you partner up with somebody? So imagine you're with your life partner or just a very good friend, and you're going through the park together, and you put your hand gently on their shoulder and say, I'd like to show you this. What's the quality of your connection at that point in time? What reaction will you get if you shove them in the back and say, go that way, you will see this? It's a very different reaction, isn't it? So beautiful Aikido always has this feeling of lightness and of acceptance of the other person and guiding them rather than forcing them to go in any particular direction. So I've now talked about quite a lot of things. I've talked about wrist turning, I've talked about hips turning, I've talked about standing to the back, I've talked about hands not being up. Now take a look at what your elbows are doing throughout this movement. Are they coming up here, or are you able to keep them down as you're doing this technique? So let's have a little look at your movement. You look at your own movement as you do shihonage now. So what was going on with your elbows?
You should keep your elbows should come down into yourself.
Yes.
If they don't do that, the person has gone away from you.
Okay, so in relation to your body, you tell me what's the optimal place to work on. Is this good?
Yep.
Is it?
Now you're wide open there.
Yeah.
Right. What about as you bring them in, my elbows are more or less touching my side. How does that feel for you now? Try it. Open up. There's the times to do this. You're kind of opening yourself and saying, okay, see, I'm not hiding anything, right? But how comfortable do you feel? I feel a little vulnerable. Maybe I want to be vulnerable. There's a time for that, as I've said, but I feel open for physical touch. What about now, when you bring your elbows in?
As long as you don't tighten up as you bring it in,
Yeah.
you have to keep relaxed and keep open.
Brilliant point, Andrew. Take that as a red for everything we do on every lesson. As long as you stay relaxed and don't make it too tight, it's going to feel a lot better and be a lot more effective. Dimitri, you had a point.
Yeah, I was saying that once the arms are closer to the center line, there's a sense of cohesion in the body.
Yes. But what does it feel if you come right to the center line and try and put your elbows together? That's horrible, isn't
Here,
it?
energy is blocked there.
It's a really nasty feeling.
Yeah, this is.
Okay. So, imagine that you're doing a technique. So firstly, you bring your elbows going to stay fairly close to your side, and you just offer your hand. So there's a bend in your arm like this. How strong does that feel? Now compare the feeling when you let your elbows stray as far as you can from your side. Now, I just want you to imagine that as you stretch out, someone grabs your fingertips and gently pulls you in the direction of where your fingers are pointing. I tell you what, I would not want to try and resist that, but I absolutely know that it would make no difference. They didn't shift me unless I wanted to be shifted from this position.
Hey, Quentin.
Patrick.
Yeah. Do you notice between the two that when you go out further, more muscles are engaging?
Yes.
Therefore, you have more tension.
Perfect. There's a good. So we've got this inextricable link between mind and body. So I can just say, well, in this position, I can focus on being relaxed and comfortable, and that impacts on the way I use my muscles. I can focus on extending out, but then my body's saying, oh no, I don't like this very much. And very much what I'd love you to get from doing these sessions is that you start to pay attention to what your body is telling you. Notice the difference between this and that. If you're really comfortable in that position, I'm going to be surprised, and I'd love to practice with you and test you in that position, because I don't think you're going to be as stable as you thought you were. And I would suggest you're just not noticing what's going on in your body. So one of the key secrets when you watch great Aikidoka, you'll find that they're always operating in this zone. You'll notice that they're always using their whole body when they're doing whatever technique. You'll notice that they tend to maintain their alignment. So if I throw like that, I'm telling you now, I'm very weak for that moment if I get attacked from behind. I will be knocked over. Whereas if I throw like that, I'm fine if someone pushes that. I can just move with that and I'm not going to fall over. But I can send my mind down without dropping my body down. Yeah. And if I am going to drop my body down, I can drop it down like that. And then I can get straight up into a movement. But let's try that. So You're gathering them up, you drop, you come up and to your knees. Face on. You're offering 2 wrists to the front. You lift up, you step back, and then forward as you lift up again, to your knee, and stand up and walk. We might come back to this next week because we haven't got all that much time. So, lift up, step back. Drop down, step forward. Kneel, let your hands drop, stand up. Always your back should be aligned. You can tell me if I'm doing this right. Lift up, step back. Is my back straight? I hope so. Yep. Step forward, drop down. Back straight.
Yep.
Go down, back straight, stand up, back straight. So my head is aligned above my neck, aligned above my shoulders, aligned above my hips, aligned above my feet. Everything is supporting everything else. Okay, so guys, would you like to just come? We've probably done as much movement as we can. So in your own time, you might choose to look at a movement like Ikkyo Undo, or Tenkan Ho. You can start to pay attention to what you're doing with your elbows, your hands, your feet, your hips. You can concentrate on your alignment. You can concentrate on your breath. You can concentrate on what it feels like if you imagine you're really happy. You put yourself in your happy place compared to if you're feeling a bit grumpy. What does the movement feel like then? So you can use your mindfulness to explore movement and see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And as I said last week, you know, we all have different bodies. We're all going to move slightly differently. What works for me will not be exactly the same as you. But usually we're going to share a lot of things that ought to be in the movement, like the alignment, like the working on the center line, like the sense of connection we want to have. And albeit we've got no one there, we can play with ourselves. We can see what it's like when we're gentle with ourselves compared to push hard.
And does that include the follow through, like you would with a golf swing, applying to the movement too?
Yes, it does. So your sense of connection with the person, imagine we are practicing back in normal times. Your sense of connection with your partner begins before they touch and stays with them after they've gone. You should be, you know, since in shihonage, I will be walking out the same way that they're rolling backwards, so that when they stand up, their feet are at that end and I'm behind them. So from a self-defense point of view, that makes sense. But it also means I maintain my connection with them till the last possible moment. And then as they turn to face me, the connection comes again. And I don't have to break it. You know, I can maintain it, but maybe if there's somebody else in the room, I drop that connection, I focus on the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. Any thoughts? Things you'd like to offer, things that you would like to see, things you'd like to explore for another session?
I'd like to develop the shihonage and go on to looking at the various circular movements that are going on.
Okay, so you mean coming at it from different forms and the like?
Not necessarily, but so getting away from the kind of linear and going more into the sort of circular movement.
So here's some homework for next week. How many circles can you find? They may not all be complete circles, but how many times do you start moving in a circular way during your shihonage? So I will go away and I will count up the number I find. You tell me how many you find in your movement. Maybe you write down each one too, so that we can compare notes. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll all look smug next week, or maybe some of us won't. We'll see. Anyway, I think we're just about there. You know, you're going to have to tell me whether there's value in doing what we're doing. And you know, as I say, I can adjust it if you want me to adjust it. All right, so we bow up. I'm just going to end by telling you a little something. I was working with one of the guys that was on this session last week, Calvin. He wants to do an Aikido course to show the value of how Aikido can help you in everyday life. For delinquent children, say, by practicing Aikido principles, you become a better human being. And he had all the things in Aikido that he wanted to practice with them, but he hadn't at that stage made any of the links with why what he was doing on the mat might actually be beneficial off the mat. So I feel like I made the links for him. I came up, it's an A4 sheet in quite small type, and every line is something that we do regularly on the mat that you can directly point at in daily life and say, that's a useful skill. So just one example. We practice falling down and getting up, and no matter what, we get up. Isn't that a useful habit to have in life, that when life knocks us down, we learn to get up and find another way forward? You know, we don't just give up the first time that life gets a bit difficult. So one of the other things I will challenge you to do, although I will drop them into conversation as we go along, is to find the links between what you're doing on the mat, the skills that you're learning on the mat, and how they're applicable everywhere in anything that you do. You can compare that list as well if you like. I'm pretty sure I've missed a few on my list, but it was amazing how many I came at. It just kind of tore through me. I got really excited about it. And I will be dropping them into the conversation this week. We're going to focus on that particular idea. Anyway, just really thank you for showing up, guys and girls. And I will see you on Thursday if you're coming to that session, or next Tuesday if you want to come again.
Thank you, Sensei. That was
All
really
right, thank you, Quentin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Quentin. That was
Thank
very
you.
good.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Quentin.
Quentin.